For decades, whispers have echoed through Colombia of buried fortunes, hidden rooms, and vaults sealed beneath the homes of a man who built an empire on cocaine and fear. But what if one of those vaults was finally opened? What if the truth inside could still rewrite the story of Pablo Escobar Gaviria? Pablo Escobar was killed more than 20 years ago, yet his shadow never faded. Even now, his name evokes fascination and dread, a symbol of limitless wealth and power. The latest chapter of that legend began not in Medellín, but in Miami Beach, when construction workers breaking down his former mansion hit something unusual, a welded steel vault buried deep within the foundation. Inside, investigators found not just money, but weapons, account books, and evidence that Escobar had planned for his empire to outlive him. They say he once earned over $400 million a week, and still billions disappeared without a trace. Where did it go? Into walls. Into fields. Into silence. Before the vaults, before the legend, there was a boy from Medellín chasing power the only way he knew, through crime. Pablo Emilio Escobar Gaviria began small, stealing gravestones, erasing names, and reselling them to families. Soon came cars, extortion, kidnappings. In 1971, the abduction and murder of businessman Diego Echeverria brought Escobar only $50,000, but it bought him something priceless: fear. His name became a whisper of warning. When cocaine flooded Colombia's underworld, Escobar saw opportunity. In 1976, he was arrested with 39 kilos hidden in a tire. He bribed the officer, who didn't live to tell the story. From then on, Escobar ruled by one code: plata o plomo, silver or lead. By the decade's end, he had transformed from trafficker to architect of an empire. He corrupted politicians, built alliances, and envisioned a network that would drown the United States in cocaine. Within years, he controlled nearly 80% of the world's supply. Yet behind his growing myth, he was already hiding wealth. Money, weapons, and secrets buried under farms, sealed inside walls, hidden beneath floors. Those vaults became the skeleton of his legend, a map of paranoia and excess. At the height of his power, the Medellín Cartel was bringing in $400 million every week. The challenge wasn't making money, it was finding a place to keep it. In the lush hills of Antioquia, Escobar built Hacienda Napoles, a fantasy kingdom carved from the jungle. It had man-made lakes, a colonial mansion, and life-size dinosaur statues towering over the lawns. Elephants, giraffes, and even hippos roamed freely, animals imported from Africa that still inhabit Colombia's rivers today. Hacienda Napoles was more than a home. It was a fortress, a statement, and a mirror of Escobar's mind, extravagant, untouchable, and unreal. He surrounded himself with luxury: a Porsche once raced by Emerson Fittipaldi, a Harley-Davidson said to have belonged to Frank Sinatra, and mansions from Medellín to the Caribbean. At one point, he even offered to pay off Colombia's entire $10 billion national debt in exchange for protection from extradition. But Escobar trusted no one, not even banks. For every palace that rose above the ground, another hid beneath it, a maze of vaults where money slept in the dark. If you want to uncover the untold stories behind the world's most powerful figures, subscribe to Unfiltered Nation. Here, history isn't rewritten, it's revealed. As the cash poured in faster than it could be counted, Escobar's empire turned chaotic. Mountains of dollars arrived daily, bound by rubber bands that alone cost the cartel thousands each month. His accountants filled barns and basements until humidity and rats destroyed nearly 10% of the money each year. It hardly mattered. There was always more, and always another vault to fill. Those hidden chambers became part of his mythology. For every one discovered, 10 more were rumored. Farmers digging their land, workers tearing down walls, and police divers sweeping rivers stumbled upon decaying bundles of US bills. Each discovery renewed the legend. Somewhere beneath Colombia lay billions still waiting. But some vaults hid more than treasure. When investigators pried open reinforced doors, they found stockpiles of AK-47s, grenades, and rockets stacked beside cash. Each room was a war chest, sealed for a siege that never came. And deeper inside, they found notebooks written in Escobar's hand, meticulous, coded, waterproof. They listed names of judges, politicians, and police, the very people sworn to fight him. These pages were deadlier than weapons. They mapped the corruption that kept his cartel untouchable. Rumors spread that not all vaults were built for money. Survivors described narrow, soundproof rooms with hooks on the walls and drains in the floor, interrogation chambers where betrayal ended in silence. Authorities never confirmed it, but the design fit Escobar's logic, fear written in concrete. By 1991, pressure on Escobar reached a breaking point. Facing extradition to the United States, he proposed a deal, surrender, but on his own terms. He would build his prison, and he would call it La Catedral. Perched above Medellín, shrouded in mist, it looked like a penitentiary from the outside. Inside, it was anything but. There was a golf course, a bar, a waterfall, and even a jacuzzi. The guards were his men, handpicked for loyalty. A telescope on the balcony let him watch his family's home while he spoke to them by phone. To the public, it became Hotel Escobar. But beneath the comfort lay design. La Catedral's walls hid secret tunnels, weapon caches, and weak points ready for escape. When the government tried to transfer him to a real prison in 1992, Escobar simply walked out through a hidden passage and vanished into the fog. La Catedral proved the same truth as his buried vaults. For Escobar, hiding was surviving. After his escape, Colombia descended into chaos. Car bombs shook Medellín, assassins targeted politicians and journalists. Even on the run, Escobar continued burying wealth beneath the soil of Antioquia and Medellín. When police finally killed him in 1993, the empire collapsed, but the vaults remained. And with them, the myth. In the years that followed, the legend refused to die. Farmers plowing fields uncovered metal containers packed with damp cash. Divers found sealed barrels of money sunk in rivers and quarries. Each discovery reignited obsession. In 1988, before his death, police had already unearthed $20 million beneath a farm near Medellín. In 2015, divers recovered another $18 million from a flooded quarry. In 2019, renovators found $27 million hidden behind a wall. And in 2020, Escobar's nephew, Nicolas Escobar, claimed that a vision led him to a stash under one of his uncle's homes, bundles of cash, a gold pen, and an old typewriter. Most of it had rotted to pulp, but the myth came roaring back. Each discovery whispered the same message: for everything found, far more remained buried. When Escobar's Miami Beach mansion was demolished in 2016, workers uncovered two sealed safes embedded in the foundation. One disappeared before police arrived. The other was moved under armed guard to a secure location, its contents never revealed. To this day, no one knows what was inside. Money? Documents? Or something capable of shaking powerful names even now? But the most disturbing truth came not from what was found, but from what was missing. Maps hinted at coordinates erased from archives, tunnels filled and sealed by unknown hands. Some vaults had clearly been emptied before the authorities arrived. Others appeared freshly resealed. It was as if the network itself had learned to protect its secrets. Even today, people in Antioquia speak of nights when bulldozers moved under moonlight, guarded by men with no names. Whole hills were reshaped, rivers diverted. The ground that once hid Escobar's fortune now holds neighborhoods and schools. To dig there is to dig into Colombia's wounds. For Colombians, the vaults became more than treasure, they became symbols of unfinished business, billions unaccounted for, corruption unpunished, and ghosts of an era when fear ruled the streets. Every discovery, a rusted box, a safe, a handful of ruined bills, reminded the nation that its past still lives beneath its feet. Beyond the money, something deeper endures. Escobar's story has been dramatized and romanticized until the man became myth. Shows like Narcos blurred the line between villain and icon, feeding the same fascination he once exploited. Every rumor of a new vault renews that obsession. Each unverified image online promises that the next discovery will contain not just cash, but truth, the secret history of his empire. The legend survives because it offers what reality cannot, the idea that somewhere below the surface, the truth still waits to be found. In a sense, the vaults mirror Escobar himself, built to contain unimaginable power, sealed against betrayal, and impossible to destroy. Even now, archaeologists and police treat each excavation as historical preservation. Every artifact tells a story of how greed reshaped a nation's soil. Some ledgers, faded but legible, remain locked away, filled with transaction codes, flight paths, and names that no one dares to speak aloud. A Colombian historian once said, "The vaults fascinate us because they remind us that the past is never truly buried, it waits." If you want to keep uncovering the hidden truths behind the world's most powerful empires, the stories history tried to seal away, subscribe to Unfiltered Nation. We go where the silence begins. Today, more than 3 decades after Escobar's death, excavations still surface. Sometimes it's a farmer hitting steel while digging. Sometimes it's construction workers uncovering concrete that doesn't belong. Each time, the question returns, how much more is still down there? Officials estimate billions in cartel cash remain lost. Treasure hunters believe the real number is far higher. And among locals, the tales grow with every retelling, of gold bars buried under banana fields, of photos that could ruin reputations, of a final vault so massive it holds the truth of Escobar's last days. No proof. Only echoes. For those who lived through his reign, the legend isn't thrilling, it's painful. The vaults are scars on the land, reminders of a man who once offered to buy an entire nation's soul. They mark where wealth became ruin, and where greed became history. When Escobar died, Colombia hoped his secrets would die with him. Instead, they buried themselves. Even now, as the jungle reclaims his estates and hippos roam the rivers he filled, his presence endures, in the soil, the stories, and the vaults that remain locked. What lies inside the last unopened vault? Is it just money, or the final piece of a puzzle that explains how one man held a nation in his grasp? Until that final lock breaks, Escobar's empire will never truly die. Because legends, like vaults, are built to be sealed and rediscovered. What do you think still hides beneath Colombia's soil? Could there be secrets waiting to be uncovered? Or are some stories better left buried? Share your thoughts below. Leave a like if you enjoyed this deep dive. And don't forget to subscribe to Unfiltered Nation, where history meets the unknown.